I just spent 1.5 hours recording in Octavia's accent, so if I slip into that when I'm narrating, I am sorry. Anyway. My roommate is a vampire. Chapter 13. Into the night. We ducked back inside, closing all the windows and locking the doors. Luna's guard stood outside, stalwart as ever. It seemed that if I stayed out of the moonlight long enough, even on a full moon, I would slowly change back. It was a painstaking process, and after waiting at least an hour for my claws to retract and my coat to shrink, we talked to Fluttershy. The sweet thing, she let us sleep over for the night. Any pony friends with the princess is a friend of mine. Lionel still wanted to deck her, but Fluttershy assuaged her fears. And don't worry, I'm sworn to secrecy, and by royalty, too. That's even more than a pinky promise, even though I don't really understand what's going on. Lionel took the couch. She had offered, but I really wanted to sleep on the ground. I trotted around in a circle before settling down into a comfortable position. Lionel started. What are you doing? I don't know. It just felt right, I admitted. Things would never be the same for either of us. There was no going back. We had reached that pivotal moment past the point of no return. We only had a few hours until daybreak, and we decided to make the most of it. Vinyl was out like a light and began to snore softly. My eyelids drooped, a wave of exhaustion flooding over me. Lights, camera, action. Enter an expensive mansion, nearly the size of a castle, with an elegant hedge garden with a fountain in the center. The family that lived there was rich. Cue classical music, somber and simplistic in melody. Transition to inside a hall. A despondent little filly near the massive window, the sunlight casting a shadow that stretched across the smooth floor. A second shadow. Her mother. Mother, did I do good? Average. Oh. Again, and this time, no mistakes. Yes, Mother. Cut. The train ride home was uneventful. Mostly just me, sulking near the windows. Bino went home. The princess, well, she was long gone. She didn't have time to deal with us lesser mortals, I supposed. Or maybe she was just busy. In any case, I still had rehearsals. I'd skipped out for at least a week. There was going to be hell to pay. Where in Tartarus have you been? Frederick demanded, the second I walked into the studio. What? This entire week you've been gone. You haven't been answering your calls. You haven't come to rehearsals. He began pounding his hoof for emphasis with each point. What to say at a time like this? Sorry, I mumbled. I've been busy as of late. Busy making out with your mare friend? My eyes flashed, and I was nearly at his throat, inches away from throttling him, purring. What I do in my own personal life is none of your business. Their jaws hit the floor. Harpo and Brass Beauty stared, unable to comprehend the calm and stoic Octavia losing her cool. Frederick mumbled an apology. He sniffed, his nose scrunched up in distaste at our close proximity. Ugh, you smell like a wet dog. Are you going to let him talk to you like that? Show them who's boss. And you look like you just stuck your face in a blender and set it on hot, but you don't see us telling you about it, I said before I could even process the words coming from my mouth. I stuffed a hoof into my mouth, my eyes bulging. Oh, you have the right to remain burned, Brass hollered, shoving her hoof in his face. Harpo glanced worriedly at me, idly strumming his heart. What was I saying? I'm sorry. I barely managed to stammer before I ran from the room, not even bothering to bring my cello along with me. Brass screamed. Scorched! What's gotten into her? Frederick snapped. I stormed out of the building, trying to calm myself. How'd I face them again? At least I had an excuse for not showing up tomorrow. Pony Joe's Donut Shop. I'd expected something a little more professional, or at least secretive. In my saddlebags, my phone rang. Yeah, what? I asked abrasively. I hadn't even checked who it was calling. Octavia. I jumped. Father? Hello? It would mean the world to your mother if you came to visit. I rubbed my forehead. Of course. She was still in the hospital? Leave it to Mom to take advantage of a bump on the head. Although Vinyl did have a pretty mean right hook. Where is she? Candlelight Hospital, 5th floor, room F. Be there in 5. I flipped the phone shut. Father was always distant, impersonal. He only spoke out of necessity, even with his own wife and daughter. They were perfect for each other. Who knows? Maybe this will go well. I'll say hello and be on my way. I don't want you hanging around that DJ. You don't get to tell me what to do, I shouted before I even realized what I was saying. Those weren't my words. It was that voice. Watch your mouth, young filly. I am your mother, she screamed back. I'm not your little filly anymore. You will do as I say. Fuck you, I barked impulsively. She gasped, horrified. Octavia! I slammed the glass door behind me, cringing as I heard the sound of glass splashing all over the floor. Nurses and doctors stared. One dropped the pencil she was holding in her mouth. A desk pony spilled her coffee. You could hear a pin drop. I can fix that. That went well. How was your day? Pretty awful. Thanks for asking. Octi, how's dinner coming along? Octi? And we're late on last month's rent. I should reschedule. Ooh, shiny! I couldn't tear my eyes away from the silver kitchen knife. Wait, Octi, don't touch that. You still touched it. Upon touching it, my hoof seemed to burn and sizzle. It seems my hoof was spontaneously combusted into flames, I noted dully, holding it up for her to see. Quite, Vinyl said. Shall I get the fire extinguisher? Break in case of supernatural creatures. Please do. Cue screaming. First day as a lichen, and somehow I'd managed to end up in the doghouse. Vinyl hadn't wanted me to stay home by myself. She even insisted on having some pony come over to watch me. Having any cravings? Any homicidal thoughts lately? Sure, I could kill you for doing this to me, but I won't. I assure you, I'm fine. I lied. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Look, I'm not too comfortable with this. I'll let some pony check on you when they can, alright? The second that door closed, I began pacing in a circle. My tail wagged around, even as I tried to take my mind off things. I couldn't stay still. I had to move. I couldn't help it. I had no control over my own faculties. I sat down on the couch, only to start scratching. It was getting worse. They are weak. That voice in my head wouldn't shut up. I need something, anything, to take my mind off my current situation. Turning to the bottle would have been irresponsible. I was better than this. Better than the lichen in me. You are strong. I slumped over, groaning. I took out a glass with 2 ice cubes and a bottle of scotch, pouring a good amount in. Swirling it around, I studied the orange liquor before tilting the glass back. It was unbecoming of me, really. I didn't booze very much. Once in a while, maybe. Not all the time. You are the alpha mare. Shut up. The drink went down like fire. You poor, helpless thing. I needed a refill. There was a time when I rejected things like destiny or fate. I was starting to figure out that I had the worst luck in Equestria. There's nothing more deceiving than the belief that you ran your life, that you have some semblance of control, that you are large and in charge. We were all insignificant specks of dust in an infinite universe, trying to make the best of the situation. No pony knew what they were doing, why they were doing it in the first place. It was like gambling. The cards had been dealt, and what was left was us grasping at straws. You play, or you pay. Or maybe it was like playing jazz music. You just rolled with it. You just improvised. I knocked another one back. Yeesh. Ponies always told me I got sappy and philosophical when I drank. And where was I in the middle of this? Was I still living the dream? Where was the Canterla upscale penthouse? The bits, the extravagant parties and concerts in Blue Blood Hall? That dream was starting to slip away. No, someday, I said, if only to reassure myself. Bottoms up. Someday your dream will come true. How pathetic. Was that how I coped with the truth? Is that what I told myself to help me sleep at night? I was the mule, always trotting forwards for that carrot that dangled just out of my reach. This dream of mine had turned around me. Who was I? A nobody. Some two-bit, has-been cello player for a quartet, playing lounge music just to pay the rent. We'd all been banking on the grand galloping gala to take in the cash. Reality came crashing down on me, and I was treated with a glimpse into my bleak future. Suddenly I was old. My dream? Not a chance. It wasn't going to happen, and it probably never would, because I wasn't ever going to do it anyway. That was the old Octavia, weak and feeble. I am new Octavia, stronger, faster, better. At least I had a family. Mom, she cares. I know it, I said. Somehow I thought by saying it out loud, I would make it true. Your mother despises you. I still had friends. You don't have friends. Acquaintances. Co-workers, maybe. They don't deserve you. Shut up! I hurled the bottle against the wall, watching it smash on impact. I clutched my head, groaning, falling to my knees. I was due a hangover straight from Tartarus. Let no pony stand in your path. Prove your dominance. I didn't even feel my head hit the ground as I passed out. I sat in the shadows, in the farthest corner of the room. The balcony window had been smashed. My sharp ears twitched, able to pick up the faint sound of Vinyl's hoofsteps approaching. My heart raced as she came closer. That final moment as she fished her key out of her bags and shoved it into the lock, twisting it. The door swung open. Vinyl stared. Jeez, Octy, you look like hell. She stepped forward, into the light. She stopped when she saw my face. Is that blood? Dark crimson stained my coat and my muzzle. It was like the life had been sucked out of my eyes. I was scared, traumatized. I stared off into the distance in a 1,000-yard stare. All it took was a nod, and Vinyl dropped her bags, rushing over to me. What happened? She asked. I don't know! I spat. I felt that rise of that old familiar feeling in my gut. Wait, no, that's just... I ran over to the bathroom, emptying the contents of my stomach into the toilet. What had I eaten? Never mind, I didn't want to know. Ignorance is bliss. Did you get drunk? You bet your ass I did, I gasped, wiping my mouth before I continued to retch. My contact said she rang the doorbell at least a dozen times. She tried knocking and almost considered bucking the door down. Vinyl leaned in. I didn't want to kiss. It made me sick. Instead, she licked the blood from my cheeks, smacking her lips. Rabbit. I didn't even want to know how she knew what rabbit's blood tasted like. What did you do? I already told you I don't know. 1 second I'm on the loft, passed out on the floor, and when I woke up I was here. Except this time, I'm covered in... Ugh! Mina wasn't playing around anymore. She was locking all the doors, closing all the windows, pulling all the curtains. Did any pony see you? She demanded. How am I supposed to know? I growled. For a while, Vinyl struggled over what to do, muttering to herself before settling on a decision. Octavia, I have to run. What? She sighed. It seemed like she was in a hurry. You want to know what I do for the inner circle? This is what I do. I run damage control. Now I gotta go and clean up my mess. It's particularly the dead of the night, Vinyl. How are you even going to find out what I did? I got this, she grinned cockily. Vinyl. She turned briefly. Were you going to say something? No, never mind. Go ahead. Okay, fine, I said in a heavy sigh. Vinyl, I don't know how to tell you this. You want to break up? Vinyl asked. I stammered. No, I simply want to take a break. Is that what they call it these days? Had there been anything between us in the first place? Was it something official? Or was it something that needed no words? We'd never discussed anything. I'd kissed her and she'd kissed me. We'd slept together and cuddled for a while. That was it, really. It seemed that we had passed the initial puppy love stage in our relationship, pardon the pun, after the novelty and passion had worn off. I had seemed so sure that Vinyl was the object of my desires in the heart of the moment. Vinyl, a break doesn't mean anything, just some distance. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think so too. What? I gawked. Frankly, I'm a little insulted. Octi, the last thing you need right now is a relationship. You've got too much on your plate. You've got a job, performances. You still got to deal with this new body of yours. You don't need me to make things worse. You don't do that. Maybe I don't. But your parents are going to give you enough grief already. Let's not give them another reason to make your life miserable, all right? This is so stupid, I sniffed. Let's just back off for a while, huh? This was a blessing in disguise. I nodded, a bit too eagerly. My thoughts exactly. Thank you, Vinyl. It was a clean break. We'd severed our relationship cleanly, and both parties had come out unscathed. It was almost too perfect. But I suppose, once in a while, things had to work out, right? But don't get any ideas. I'm not moving out, you know. I smiled. She closed the door. She poked her head through again. I'll still be here. Don't worry, she winked. You're not alone in this. My journey continued on through the night. I had a feeling things were just getting started.